Hey there, welcome back to Owl Dragon Adventures. I'm Scott Kegler,
And I'm Rob McPherson.
and this is our review of Valor and Villainy, Lludwick's Labyrinth. This is Valor and Villainy, Lludwick's Labyrinth. It's a game by Skybound Tabletop. This is actually the second game in the series.
Yep.
The first game was Valor and Villainy, Minions of Mordak, which was a
1v-many skirmish? No, kind of still a tile exploration game.
tile exploration game where you're going through a kingdom and trying to get resources, level up your heroes to then go up against Mordak, this evil wizard sorcerer guy. Meanwhile, he is also that player putting out the monsters, and he is leveling up through the course of the game to go up against you. Valor and Villainy is a game where you are all playing heroes, so it's a fully cooperative game.
Yeah.
Returning from the battles of the first game to a pizzeria run by Giuseppe, the pizza baron, and he is kidnapped by Lludwick, a demon, and taken to basically hell.
He's actually a gnome.
Oh, is he a gnome?
He is a gnome. He has a demon army, but he is a gnome.
So the demon army takes Giuseppe, the pizza baron, down below the pizzeria into the levels of hell, this labyrinth.
Yep.
And you go down there to save him. So you can save Giuseppe, and I'll enjoy your victory pizza.
So the mechanics of this game, it's a dungeon crawler. It's a tile placement dungeon crawler. So you don't have a set map for each adventure. You're going to be choosing randomly from here. Each of the tiles are two-sided. You draw from the bottom, and you get to flip over, decide which side you put it down on. The only rule is that they do need to go down in a way that connects to everything that has an opening.
You can't dead end.
Yeah, you can't intentionally dead end an opening in it. That was a tile to draw because that one doesn't. Like this, you can see has a door here. So, but you can't place it like this. It's got to fit into
this. And it's the direction in which you're going. So if I go to explore this space, it has to match this one.
Yeah.
Right there.
So I could place it like that. So that's pretty standard way that you do. Dungeon exploration. You go around, you scout locations, you move out. You will encounter different tiles that have the bad guys on them. I'm not gonna remember. There's the
level 1, level 2, level 3. They all have different names.
Yep. There's one of them is there's the chumps, the minions, and the bosses, I think.
Possibly.
But they're cards that come out and they represent bad guys that you have to be able to fight. One of the unique things about this is because it is a card-based system in terms of how the bad guys work is that they've got two sides. They've got the healthy side and they've got their bloodied side.
Right.
So you can do enough damage to kill them outright in most cases, but then if you only do just enough damage to bloody them, you flip their card over and they're a little bit weak. So it's an interesting kind of two-tier system.
Yeah, so it's a puzzle of whether or not is it worth it just to knock them out a little bit and...
So this is a legacy-style campaign game. So there are many... pretty envelopes to unlock. One of my favorite things in the world. I love getting to open up new content. So you tear open these envelopes. Most of these, from what we've seen so far, contain the enemies of whatever chapter you're on. You're going to also have some other abilities and such, some other content. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's just new mechanics that unlock. It is a fairly light legacy as legacies go. It's a non-destructive legacy, which is nice. It is completely resettable, and it's not too long either. It's 8 chapters long, or 8 acts long.
Yeah, and an act can take about 2.5 hours, depending how many players you are running in an adventure.
Yeah.
So you are going to be using your action points in the game of your character, where you can use them for movement, as Rob was talking about. You can use them to attack things. Interestingly enough, you can only use an attack type once. So you have a melee, a range, and spells, and each character is a different class. Each character is going to have basically a couple of special abilities, and then one trainable ability they can upgrade through the course of a chapter.
Right. And the way that the abilities work is that it's an ability pool. So for my melee attack here over on Coach the Artificer, I get 3 yellow dice and a red one. So I would take that and I would roll this, and this many points, which for me is 3. That's pretty standard for my rolling. This is what I would get to utilize. For the most part, that just means I have a 3. But I could just do a single attack and spend these 2 to get a bonus for a later attack. when you're doing it for your spell abilities, spells cost different point values.
Like mana.
And it's exactly, so it's like mana. So you can cast multiple spells in a turn. It just depends on how much you can afford based off of your. So it's not just an attack roll. It's you're rolling to see what you can do,
right?
What your pool.
So the characters are all pretty easy. They're asymmetrical, but only slightly. They all have slightly different hit points. They start with a different amount of dice values at the beginning of the game, and those two special abilities and the one trainable. After you've gone through a round where everyone's taken a turn with their hero, before you move on to the villain phase, you get to spend any XP that you're going to gather through that session and level up your character. That mostly means either increasing the amount of actions you can take on later turns, or you can actually add new die to the board or upgrade previous ones. So I can add like a white dice here. I had a couple things to spend, or I could upgrade one to a white to a yellow, or a yellow to a red.
The white dice they only have ones on them and blanks, and it's a 50-50 shot. The yellows have one blank spot, and then it is 4 ones and a 2, and then the red has no blank spots and it's 1. So it just gets better and better as you upgrade.
And as you explore, you find new enemies to fight, you find new treasure, new loot, as well as you're trying to grab these little shards and these coins as well, which will just add to your XP at the end of a chapter, so that on the next session you play, you start off with some basically loot that you can spend, so that when you start the next chapter, you can have slightly better stuff.
Yeah, the tomes, right?
Tomes that like you can buy. So you start off with some XP to spend at the beginning of the game, or other items, shields, things like that you'll use in combat.
Yeah. So that's the gameplay. I mean, there's more nuance to it. There's the spell cards that you can get. There's the skill or the feats that you can get for the melee and the range. There's the loot cards. We could really do a deep dive on this. At some point, we'll probably play through it just to do a live play on one of these.
Yeah, it's a very crisp dungeon crawler. So in that way, from a gameplay standpoint, I think it's very getting into gameplay. It's a very high gameplay for me.
Yep.
But I don't think anything it's doing is like
nothing mind-blowingly revolutionary.
Like there's nothing monumental happening as far as like, oh, I've never seen that before.
In fact, if you've played Minions of Mordak, the predecessor game to this, you're going to recognize 99% of this game.
Especially if you've never played Mordak.
Yeah.
And if you played Mordak, you're going to have an easier time running the villain, because similar to that is leveling the whole time.
I run the villain when we play, because I was the one who played Mordak when we played Minions of Mordak. So one thing that we've noticed about this, or not noticed, that we realized about this game when we first started playing it, is that this is the game that we wanted. Another title that came out this year, last year, that came out last year, we wanted to be. That's Tiny Epic Dungeons.
Yeah, so it's and this is the same thing where it's a light timed dungeon crawler, but this time you're always facing the boss.
Yep.
But it's that kind of, again, light, just let me jump into a session, fight some stuff, and have some laughs.
Yeah. Definitely a high-end gameplay for me. I think this is a really...
Moving on to accessibility. It's a really good rule book. I found that it was easy to jump into because there's not a crazy amount of asymmetry to each character.
It's all right there.
It's very easy to either play a different character the next session, or have other players jump in or jump out. Actually, from an accessibility standpoint too, the tome, the journal for game to game, since it's easy and you don't actually upgrade a character and take them from chapter to chapter, every session is going to be basically brand new.
Right.
So you can just say like, hey, another friend showed up tonight. We can still play Mordak because this plays up to 6 players, and they can just jump in with another character that we're not playing in it.
Yep, and so there are, they expect you to play this game several times, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can play there's 12 times with this, and then the last thing it says is, need more sheets? Get a printable version.
Yeah.
And which I could totally see. We were already talking about it. Once we finish our playthrough, we're going to play through it again. Like, this is my copy. Scott's got his copy over at his place. We're playing through his copy right now. I'm about to start this off with another.
Yeah.
The story is fun, but it's not why you play.
Well, we'll get into that. I think for a bit for me, but I think the story is why I play. I think it cracks me up personally.
Sure.
I guess that's it for accessibility.
I guess I should have said the surprises of the story is not
enough.
why you play.
Fair. Yeah, you're doing a dungeon crawl.
Exactly.
And fighting
bosses. That's what I meant. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's still railroad. It's not like you don't have a lot of choices.
It's not Gloomhaven.
It's not a lot of like larger campaign games.
Yep.
moving into design, really good iconography. This is an upgrade, the neoprene map, but it is also excellent as far as the design. I think
the miniatures are an upgrade. The shards are an upgrade.
These are all
plastic
upgrades.
pieces are upgrades.
We kind of went a little all in on this. Pretty much everything here is
upgrade. After I bought this one and got it back, I upgraded my Minions of Mordak. I now have the deluxe version of that instead of the base game of that.
Because we're extra. But yeah, so from a design side though, like I like all the iconography. I love the art of the game. The art of the game was literally why I backed it. Actually, I mean, this character right here just cracked me up so hard. Like, this is why I backed the game. This is Sir Thaddy Croaks, who is a con man. He is a frog. I don't know if you can see that. Riding a snail. Yes, that's the character that I play in our sessions because it makes me very happy.
Yep.
But it's a sillier world, sillier fantasy world. And I just love all the art in it and the kind of wackiness, absurdity of the setting, and lets me still do a fun dungeon crawl and lean into with people that I normally like to play like Dungeons and Dragons with and just have a funny time.
Yeah.
With.
So one thing that I wish that they would have done, and this would have been another add-on and another cost, and I would have been fine with it, is I really wish on the Foreteller app and had narrated with voice actors, because
the writing is hilarious.
It's really good, and they criticize my reading. Single.
Yeah, we do. I like to do some of the character voice. It's just a very funny story the way it's written.
Yep.
Even the stories which is a bit of a surprise. The cards, the event cards, have different things that happen, and depending on your choices, the writing there is absolutely hilarious.
And it's pick your path. The event cards are usually pick your path, where it's like, do you help this guy or do you walk away from it? And then depending on what you choose, it does things. And sometimes that event card then just goes right back in the box. Other times it goes into your stash to then evolve further during the level up stage.
Yeah, or become like immediate loot or stuff like that, which is very. We were laughing very hard.
There's a lot of depth to this game. Yeah,
the writing is excellent in the game. Have not been disappointed.
Agreed.
So quality is going to be tough to talk about because this is the deluxeified copy of the game.
Yeah.
That said, I think all the same quality is there from the predecessor.
I don't think it'll be too hard to talk about because we played Minions Mordak without the.
That's what I'm saying. Like going back to that, like it's the same quality. Player boards.
Yep. The things that are different are these trackers that go on here.
There's cardboard.
They're just cardboard in the base game, and now they're Scott's favorite material of all time. They're little squishy gummies.
These aren't so bad. These aren't like the worst. The ones that like really just stick to your fingers. These are okay.
What I love about these though is that if you pick up your board and you jostle it, it does. Of course, this slides around as doing it, but it doesn't slide around as much as
it doesn't float as much. Yeah.
These are cardboard in the base game. These are what you put on to upgrade your dice. Much more satisfying to have the full 3D plastic.
So I guess I'll talk about this one from a quality standpoint. If you are going to, if this is the kind of game you want, there are secondary copies if you're looking at them, and they do have the add-ons. I think that the quality is there. It's not just.
Yeah, to the best of our research, this has not gone to retail and is not planning to go to retail. So you're only going to be able to get the secondary market right now. But that being said, in the research I was finding base games and deluxe. So they're both out there.
They're both out there. I mean, the deluxe copy is huge. Like the box is quite large. When I got my copy in first, and I sent a picture to Rob because I was like, I did not expect. I backed this one kind of last minute when it was out a couple years ago.
So I had backed it because I heard the pitch about the pizza parlor, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And then we were going. It was actually a game. We were doing D&D night.
I watched the video.
I think you were the DM. No, you were not the DM. I was DMing that game.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was narrating something, and Scott just goes, "I'll be right back." I'm like, "Okay, bathroom break, whatever." Comes back down 10 minutes later. Is like, "I backed Valor and Villainy."
And I'm glad I did. It's a lot of fun. So speaking of value, we've already played 3 chapters, which is about like
almost halfway.
Yeah, about halfway, but those are like 3 hours each.
Yeah,
so we played about 9-10 hours of the game so far.
Yeah, the first one was a bit shorter, so somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and it's longer if you have more players because there's just more AP. There's not a lot of decisions, but there's a lot of discussion.
Yeah, and it's not a reactionary game, so
you all go,
and then the enemy goes, so it does scale up in time depending on.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, this campaign game that I see myself wanting to play all the way through, and I've talked about this before on the channel. I don't always want to stick with a campaign. Sometimes I think they overstay their welcomes or they get repetitive. And why this game is kind of a rinse repeat, I really like the story and the humor of the game and how easy it is to jump into. And we were talking about before the video. My favorite thing about this is there are side quests and you can stay until you get all in pruny. But if you want to just play, see how it feels, there's 8 chapters. And I really like that. And it doesn't hide it. It's like, there are 8 chapters.
Yep.
You can just play this and then reset if you want.
Yeah.
So I like that because some of these games, they just go, well, it's like 50 hours of gameplay. I'm like, I have a lot of board games I want to play. I don't always know if I'm going to be able to commit 50 hours to something.
Or 10 hours.
There's 8 chapters, though.
There are 8 chapters.
That might be the side quest.
Yeah.
But again, I think it has really, really high value as a game.
I see quests back here.
Cool.
Yep. So I just saw something as I was flipping through this, which I've forgotten about that I totally love. In the very back of the book here, campaign book, there is the storyline breadcrumb trail, which is before each game, I can just read a quick 1 paragraph about the intro, the tutorial, the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, etc., and remind everybody what... I had to close that book real quick because there's the spoiler page on the page of that. Real quick, remind everybody what has been going on in the story so far. Not that our players are totally ADHD and don't listen to when I narrate. Anyways. So yeah, I think that I paid for everything because I got the expansion for it as well. I also got the upgrades. We got the neoprene mat after the fact because we shamefully did not back it during the campaign. So I think I'm into this personally about $60 to $180, somewhere in that range. You can get the game itself. I think the deluxe. I think it's just the base edition, but with the expansion for $150 on eBay, we are seeing it.
Yeah.
The deluxe copy, you're probably going to expect to spend about $200 to $250 on it.
That said, if it's at your friendly local game store, I think you could probably find it maybe that range, a little less. I don't know. It depends on secondary market.
Yep.
But if you see it around, I mean, I think the value can be there if you're looking for this type of campaign game. And at the end of the day, roll the mat and everything fits in that one box. It's a large box, but it's not going to eat like
and it's
whole
all game trays.
Shelf.
All game trays.
Yeah, all game trays.
Yep.
Stores away really well.
So yeah, where do you fall on this one?
So I don't always love campaign games, mostly because, as I already stated, I think they can sometimes overstay their welcome. This game, to me, hits on pretty much all those levels for me. It's very funny. I get to play a stupid frog on a snail while somebody else across the table gets to play a sorcerer who's doing this elemental thing, so it appeals to everybody.
I play a gnome and a mech suit.
Yeah, so we're playing the 2 silly characters, kind of.
That's true. I don't know. I think they're all silly characters. Our necromancer has his
Frankenstein named Frank or something like that.
It's Frank, yeah.
So they all have a silly bent to them, but we're definitely playing the sillier character. You're playing a child that's operating a giant scary mech, and I am a frog person.
It's true.
With Big Z, the snail. But so anyways, I land at a 9 out of 10. I think this is excellent. As we already stated, this was what I wanted last year out of this type of weight dungeon crawler that I can throw down and we can have a good time strategy-wise, but laugh for 3 hours.
I do like campaign games. They're one of my favorite mechanics. I love legacy games. I like non-destructive legacy. I also love destructive legacy. So for me, I'm landing at a 9.5 on this one. I think this is a really, really solid title. And it's not getting nearly enough love for what it is. It's a very solid dungeon crawl. It's got just the right amount of legacy elements to it where you're adding some things, you're unlocking some things. Really, really solid title. This is definitely one of my favorite.
I'd be curious what they could do with a third game in the series, if that would revitalize kind of it too. Because this one got people talking about the first game a little bit more. Which again wasn't a gigantic title.
Right. This is really, really good game. Absolutely adore it. I can't wait to play through it several times, personally.
Yeah, it's just I think that score makes sense for you. I think it's a game that could be a very evergreen D&D replacement game for you. Maybe you don't play a lot of board games, but like this is like you have an off night, you can't play a regular campaign, you still get to have that experience for the night.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if you have any questions about the game, go ahead and leave a comment. If you like the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. We'd love to have you for some other videos. With that, we wish you good luck with all of your future board game adventures.
And thank you for joining us on ours.